Yeah, this is Michael calling back.
Okay.
All right, just put me through. All right.
Vice President Harris for all of their support that they've given, not only to us, but to other states across the nation that are dealing with this same issue. We have broken form. We've left the state of Texas to ensure that we can preserve the right of all Texans to vote. So now we're here in D.C. to help with that advocacy effort. We're meeting with various lawmakers, both on the congressional side and the Senate side, and we're hoping that the John Lewis Voting Rights Act and the For the People Act can get out of neutral or installed and be made into law, because we are living in borrowed time in the state of Texas. These voter suppression laws are in front of us right now for the special session that we have. We're here, we're pledged to be here in D.C., at least for the remainder of the special session, but we know that the governor can call us back immediately for an additional special session. So we're living off our own time, and we're determined to ensure that Washington, D.C. does something to help us to ensure that Texans and all Americans have fundamental right to vote.
So spell that out for us for a moment. What is that something that you want to see done? Because, even on a legislative calendar, the chances of anything happening in the 3 weeks that you're in D.C. and ultimately making an impact in Texas, slim to none, obviously. But what is it that you want to see happen immediately to prevent, is what we were just hearing from the reporter, Abby Livingston, the inevitability that Republicans will most likely get this through either later or in October when another special session is called?
And we understand that there is a time crunch, and we recognize that there's potential that it won't be accomplished. And what I mean specifically is the John Lewis Voting Rights Act being put into law, the For the People Act, helping to set a federal standard for elections. That way we can ensure that the type of voter suppression legislation that we're seeing in Austin, in Texas right now, will never become law. And so if we can get that law passed, we can help by leading the state, by doing something as dramatic as breaking form, stopping all legislative business in the state of Texas, and coming to D.C. We're hoping that we continue bringing attention to this important issue, and that other senators might be moved and willing to work to ensure that this legislation is heard at the Senate level and hopefully passed out into law. And so we are doing this. We know we have a limited amount of time, but we're here and we're trying to make good trouble here while we're in the nation's capital.
Really quickly, sir, are you at all concerned about being arrested upon returning to Texas?
We understood that by leaving the state of Texas, breaking form, that there was potential that there would be arrest warrants put out for us. And so it's something we were expecting, and we're fully ready to deal with that on our return to Texas. We're hoping that we can get Congress to act, and if not, then we're hoping that our Republican colleagues in the state of Texas will work with us and take some of the amendments that we propose or some of the compromises we have in place, so that way we can come back and look at maybe a whole different type of bill that they're looking at and have some new language and get that passed as opposed to the current piece of legislation right now, which is just voter suppression all over again.
All right, Texas State Representative Philip Cortez, thank you so much for your time, sir. Appreciate it.
Me?
Okay. All right. So that was Texas State Representative Cortez, Philip Cortez, speaking with Eamon Mohadeen on MSNBC Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. All right. I want to go to Haiti next. And I think I have to send you this clip here. So there are more questions coming out regarding what's going on in Haiti and this Dr. Christian Sanon. We talked about Dr. Sanon on Monday's show. It's still not clear. There's still so many questions. Like I said before, so many questions surrounding the assassination of President Jovenel Moise. I'm going to send you these two clips here, Shakita. So there's so many questions still floating around about the assassination of Jovenel Moise that took place Wednesday, July 7th. And in this clip here, in this latest update, this is from NBC Nightly News. This latest update, they are asking more questions about the doctor. Growing questions over assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moise. Police in Haiti say Dr. Christian Sanon, 63-year-old doctor living in Florida, is one of the intellectual authors of the plot to assassinate President Moise. At least 29 people were involved in the assassination, police say. And as questions grow over who financed the brazen attack, questions grow over who financed the brazen attack. Also, we see here that if we look at the updates from in New York Times, Haitian officials say U.S.-based suspect in president's killing was seeking power. The national police chief indicated that he believes a Florida-based doctor, Dr. Christian Emmanuel Sanon, was plotting to assume the presidency. The U.S. dispatched a team to assist in the investigation. We know members of Homeland Security and FBI were in Haiti a couple of days ago to assist in the investigation. So there was this one story here. The doctor named as a suspect in the president's killing said he was sent by God. We talked about that on yesterday's show. And then, okay, I want to go to this clip and we're going to get some more updates. Let's go to this clip from NBC Nightly News. I just emailed it to you. Okay, we'll get that ready for you. After that clip, we're going to go to the story back to Texas. And this is the story of Hervis Rogers, 62 years old, African-American man who became a symbol of the voting rights struggle. He's a ex-offender. He's almost done with probation. He stood in line almost 7 hours to vote in the presidential election. He's now being charged with 2 counts of voter fraud in Texas. His bail was set at $100,000, and he's facing up to 40 years in prison. This is a crazy, crazy story. Do we have the clip ready from NBC Nightly News?
This YouTube video, posted in 2011, Christian Sanon portrays himself as a future leader of Haiti who would battle corruption and turn the nation around. Now, police in that country say the Haitian doctor who lived in Florida is one of the intellectual authors of the plot to assassinate President Jovenel Moise last week. And they allege that Sanon even planned to install himself as Haiti's president, though questions are mounting about who financed the brazen attack.
Yes, he did.
Haiti's police chief says Sanon was one of at least 29 people involved. 24 have been arrested or killed, including 18 Colombians, 2 U.S. citizens, and Sanon. The Haitian government says the assassins posed as U.S. drug enforcement agents. The DEA says they were not acting on behalf of the agency, but it does now confirm that another one of the suspects was at times a confidential informant. As tensions escalate in Haiti, 3 politicians are jockeying for power and have met with senior FBI and Homeland Security agents on the ground. Tomorrow, the president's chief of security will be questioned to determine how the gunman got in. Gabe Gutierrez, NBC News.
Okay, so that's from NBC Nightly News, Tuesday, July 13th, 2021. Growing questions over assassination of Haitian President Jovenel Moise. I'm trying to find the, let me see here. I want to look at the latest updates here. Okay. Haitians hope president's funeral is a moment of unity. I'm looking at the latest updates here from New York Times dealing with Haiti. As an investigation into the killing of President Jovenel Moise focuses on a Florida-based doctor. Officials are also preparing memorial events aimed at reflecting respect, solemnity, and dignity. Now, let's see, activists hope and plan for change in a country in crisis. Okay. So we see political crisis going on in Haiti, dispute over who's actually in charge. And then there was one article I saw earlier today. Let me see if we can find this here. Okay, we'll try to find that for tomorrow's show. All right. We'll look at the updates from New York Times. So this other story here, this is back dealing with Texas. Joy Reid talked about this on MSNBC, and she talked about the Texas voter restriction laws. But it's a story dealing with Hervis Rogers, okay? African-American man named Hervis Rogers. Just the amount of time that he's getting, you could tell he's black. Okay, just the amount of time he could be getting, the amount of time he's facing, you can tell that he's African American. Because if he was white, he would have gotten a plea bargain, or he would just gotten parole or something like that if he was white. So I first saw this story from National Public Radio. We posted it on our Facebook fan page, The African History Network, The African History Network. The story is from July 9th. Okay. Let me flip over to the story here. We're going to go to, I think that's clip 5 from the readout, ACLU, Texas Director on Client Facing Decades. We're going to that in just a minute, Shakita. So a Houston man is arrested for alleged illegal voting. Not robbing a bank, not killing anybody, not raping anybody, not even for fraudulently voting for a dead person, like some white people, some Trump supporters have been caught doing. They voted for their dead mother, they voted for their dead wife, something like that for Trump. Okay, he didn't do that. He voted for himself. Okay, here's this story quickly. We're going to go to this clip here in just a second. So when Hervis Rogers went viral on social media for being the last person in line at Texas Southern University to cast a vote at 1 a.m. on Super Tuesday in March 2020. Yeah, that was right. Super Tuesday, March 2020. He was applauded as a tenacious, civic-minded man who worked hard to exercise his right to vote. Now, Hervis Rogers is being prosecuted by Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton's office for allegedly voting illegally. Now, Attorney General is elected. This is an example of how elections have consequences. The governor is Governor Greg Abbott of Texas. These are all Trump supporters. These are all elected officials. This is an example of how elections have consequences. The arrest came just one day before the Texas legislature convened on Thursday to begin a special session where a controversial voting bill is on the agenda. And this is what the 51 Democrats and the Democrats in the Texas state legislature are trying to stop. Republicans in favor of new voting restrictions point to cases like Hervis Rogers as proof of an insecure system. But how many cases are you all prosecuting? Okay, how many cases? 5, 6, 7? How many millions of votes were cast in Texas? It's not an insecure system. You're lying. It's not an insecure system. You're lying. See, the problem is Texas is becoming less white. That's the problem. And you have white Republicans who are trying to hold on to power by any means necessary. Republicans in favor of new voting restrictions point to cases like Hervis Rogers as proof of an insecure system. However, there was no evidence of widespread voter fraud in the 2020 presidential election. Not only that, Attorney General William Barr said there was no evidence of widespread voting fraud. He searched and searched and searched. They're lying. The charges against Hervis Rogers. Now, in 1995, Rogers was arrested and sentenced to 25 years in prison for burglary and intent to commit theft. He was out on parole May 20th, 2004. Okay. And his parole was set to end June 13th, 2020. June 13th, 2020. Okay. He votes March 2020. Okay, and he thinks he can vote legally. He's been out since 2004. Let's go to this clip here from the readout with Joanne Reed. ACLU Texas.
Voter has become the face of Texas voter suppression tactics as communities across the state endured ridiculously long voter lines last year on primary day, Super Tuesday, especially in diverse Harris County, home to Houston. Herbert Rogers went viral for waiting more than 6 hours to vote at an historically black college in the city. He spoke to reporters on his way out.
I want to get my vote in, to voice my opinion, and I wasn't going to let nothing stop it. So I waited it out. It's like the way it was going, like it was set up for me to walk away.
He's a great example of a person exercising his civic duty by any means necessary. Well, now Texas Republican Attorney General Ken Paxton, who himself is being investigated by the state bar for his role in pushing the big lie with his lawsuit against 4 battleground states to try and overturn the election, that Ken Paxton, had Herbert Rogers arrested and is prosecuting him for casting his ballot. Rogers is charged with 2 counts of knowingly voting illegally, second-degree felonies with a possible sentence of 20 years in prison on each count. His bail was set at a staggering $100,000. When he voted, Rogers was a few months shy of the end of his parole for a burglary conviction in the 1990s. Under Texas law, the formerly incarcerated are prohibited from voting until their parole ends. But Rogers' attorney from the ACLU of Texas says he didn't know that he was ineligible to vote. The nonprofit Bail Project put up the $100,000 to bail him out, but he now faces the possibility of decades in prison for voting, as opposed to the, say, 5 years probation that a Pennsylvania man received for admittedly voting for the disgraced former president using his dead mother's name. Ken Paxton defended Rogers' arrest in a tweet claiming, "I prosecute voter fraud everywhere we find it." But Paxton seems to only find it in certain communities. A recent study found that nearly 3/4 of Paxton's voter fraud prosecutions have been brought against Black and Latino defendants. Because, of course. Joining me now is Andre Segura, legal director for the Texas ACLU. This case is shocking and horrifying, but let's just clarify a couple of things. Herbert Rogers, to me, it seems like if he was admittedly and knowingly breaking the law and voting illegally, wouldn't have given a TV interview. So, your thoughts?
That's right. He certainly would have waited over 6 hours to vote. He was the last one in line. He might have been the last one in the entire state of Texas to vote. And, just stepping back, we often talk about suppression of voting rights in hypotheticals. But what's happening to Mr. Rogers is real.
Okay, I guess it's buffering. So Texas citizen Herbert Rogers, 62 years old, has become a symbol of the voting rights struggle. Now, this is an article here from NPR.org. So in 1995, Herbert Rogers was arrested and sentenced to 25 years. Just press play when it's ready. Okay, well, I think we're out of time here. Okay, those watching on Facebook and YouTube, keep watching. We're going to go for a couple more minutes and finish this clip up. The rest of this, we'll talk about Jamaica tomorrow night, Jamaica petitioning Britain for reparations. Be sure to visit our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. Register for my 10-week online course on Sundays, 2 p.m., Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade. Remember, right now, let's correct wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace. Stand by. Okay, let me cue up this clip here. Just stand by, everybody. Let me cue this clip up so we'll finish this out. We'll talk about Jamaica tomorrow. I have to get out of here. And we will run into technical difficulties today with the computer. Let's see here. Okay. This is the readout from July 12th. Joy Reid. While we get that queued up, be sure to visit at our website, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com. we have the information here for the online course that I teach. So we have a new online course that started up Sunday, July 4th. It's a 10-week online course, Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. When you go to our website, scroll down the page, AfricanHistoryNetwork.com, you'll see the information for the online course. Click on register here. Next class is Sunday, July 18th. Sunday, July 18th, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Click right here on enroll. Class is on sale. $80, regularly $130. Okay. We do the class live. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch it over and over again. Even after the course is over with, you still have access to the course. So we do thousands of years of history, and we do what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place also. Okay. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, Understanding the Transatlantic Slave Trade, what they didn't teach you in school. All right, just a second here. Let me just a second here. Let me find. Okay, here we go. All right, let's cue this up.
Shocking and horrifying, but let's just clarify a couple of things. Hervis Rogers, to me, it seems like if he was admittedly and knowingly breaking the law and voting illegally, wouldn't have given a TV interview. So, your thoughts?
That's right. He certainly would have waited over 6 hours to vote. He was the last one in line. He might have been the last one in the entire state of Texas to vote. And, you know, just stepping back, we often talk about suppression of voting rights in hypotheticals. But what's happening to Mr. Rogers is real, and it should cause alarm to all of us. He really thought he was doing the right thing, trying to get out there and fulfill his civic duty, as you saw in that wonderful video of him. And now instead, almost a year and a half later, he's arrested by undercover officers outside of his home in Houston, taken to a jail an hour north from his house, put a bail amount of $100,000, an amount that most people, certainly Mr. Rogers, couldn't afford, and was held there for 4 days, not knowing what was going to happen to him. And for what? At worst, an innocent mistake. And what we know is that he truly believed that he was doing the right thing. So this should really cause concern to all of us.
All of this feels very Jim Crow, to be honest with you. Persecuting this man and threatening him with 40 years in prison, picking this black man who made a high-profile case for himself on television for why it's so important to vote, and having, you know, put his life back together. Even the fact that he's being prosecuted in Montgomery County, which is not the county where he actually lives. Explain how is it legal to move him to a different county, which presumably is a more red, conservative, white county.
Right. Well, the legality of that is something that we'll be reviewing closely. A current state law allows the Attorney General to bring a prosecution in a neighboring county or in the Austin area. But of course, it's odd that he's not being prosecuted in the county in which he voted or in the county in which he lives. And just to make this real, he has to now go up frequently an hour north when he has no car, no way of getting up. This is hard for anyone. It's an inconvenience. And it certainly raises speculation as to why this is happening there.
This case reminds me very much of the Crystal Mason case, in which the book was also thrown at this young woman who voted. She cast a provisional ballot. She got 5 years in prison. This feels like black Texans and brown Texans are having the book thrown at them by prosecutors like Mr. Paxton to send a message. Would I be wrong in viewing it that way? To send a message to other black voters?
You've seen a pattern by Attorney General Paxton and his office of trying to make a case for widespread voter fraud when we know that that's not real. And so this is part and parcel of that. He's focusing his resources, which we think is a complete waste of resources. We represent Ms. Mason as well, and the same issue there is the issue here. It's two people who believe that they were honestly doing the right thing. No one would risk their livelihood, that of their families, to go vote, and no one should have to. We should make voting safe and easy. And right now we have Texas legislators trying to make voting scarier and riskier for Texans, and really trying to intimidate people from going to the polls and expressing their voice.
Where are all of our passports?
Okay. All right. So that was from Monday, July 12th, 2021. the readout with Joanne Reed, okay, dealing with the case of Hervis Rogers. There was a article here from the Washington Post. This one right here. We talked about this yesterday. Okay. This is how little voter fraud there really is. Actually legitimate voter fraud, not voting irregularities, not somebody messing up a voter form, okay, or not a clerical error. A clerical error is not voter fraud. All right. This is how little voter fraud there actually is. This is what Republicans don't want to tell the truth about. Despite GOP rhetoric, there have been fewer than 24 charged cases of voter fraud since the election. Despite all this nonsense that they were going in and out of court, 61 court cases, all of them thrown out except the one in Pennsylvania, and the one that Republicans won in Pennsylvania, that just dealt with how far poll watchers could be from poll workers. Despite they raised $250 million to lose 60 cases. They raised $250 million by losers and suckers, Donald Trump supporters, to lose 60 cases. Despite GOP rhetoric, there have been fewer than 24 charged cases of voter fraud since the election. One person has faced charges for every 10 million votes cast. One person has faced charges for every 10 million votes cast. There's your widespread voter fraud. There it is. Now, what I find interesting is like people like Attorney General Ken Paxton of Texas. When you have cases like in was Pennsylvania, okay, we had cases like in Pennsylvania, and there was also one in, let me see here, this one right here. Let's look at this Texas Tribune, then we have to get out of here. Also, if you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show. All right. If we look at this here from Texas Tribune, okay, there's no evidence of widespread voter fraud, but Dan Patrick is encouraging people to report it with up to a $1 million reward. The Republican lieutenant governor's crusade for proof of election problems in Texas comes as members of his own party dominated up and down the ballot. They don't have widespread voter fraud. It's a myth. They're pushing this lie that the election was stolen from Trump. They're pushing this lie that there was widespread voter fraud that they can't produce evidence of, to then pass these voter restriction bills so they can suppress the vote, so Republicans can win more elections, because they know that by the year 2043, the U.S. will no longer be a majority white population. They know in states like Georgia and Texas, those states are becoming less white and more diverse, and they're trying to maintain power by any means necessary, even if they have to lie to do it. This is what this is about. Then, okay, so you have that, but read the one from the Washington Post, okay, because this really hits home. Despite GOP rhetoric, there have been fewer than 24 charged cases of voter fraud since the election. All right. Jamaica we'll talk about tomorrow. Let's see here. That's going to, we got through the rest of the stories here. If you like this type of information, you can support the African History Network, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, $ the AHN Show through Cash App, also through PayPal, paypal.me/the AHN Show, paypal.me/the AHN Show. This is our official Cash App account, $ the AHN Show, SHOW, and it shows my name there, Michael, and it has my picture there. These other ones are fake Cash App accounts. somebody set up and they've been stealing money from us. I already reported them to Cash App. Same thing happened to Roland Martin. I sent Roland this. I talked to Roland yesterday. I told him same thing happened to me. Somebody set up fake Cash App accounts. I sent him this graphic. I said, I put together this graphic to let my viewers and listeners know about this. Okay. So ours is $ TheAHNShow, SHOW. And you'll see it. You see it there. So you know it's the right one that you're supporting. If you send it to these fake Cash App accounts, let Cash App know, see if they'll send your money back. All right, we have to get out of here. So register for the 10-week online course that I teach. Next class is Sunday, July 18th. Ancient Kemet, the Moors, and the Ma'afa, understanding the transatlantic slave trade, what they didn't teach you in school. And we deal with thousands of years of history and what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We have a great class. I do a PowerPoint presentation. We have book references, articles, video clips, guest speakers, all of that. And we deal with thousands of years of history, and we do what led up to the transatlantic slave trade taking place. We also deal with the African presence in the Americas dating back at least 51,700 years ago. And I reference Dr. David Imhotep's book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. And we're going to get him to speak to our class again. He spoke to my class, my Saturday class. He spoke to my class June 12th. He's a friend of mine. And I've interviewed him a number of times, but he was a guest speaker in our class. We're going to get him to be a guest speaker again. His new book is out, The First Americans Were Africans, revised and expanded also. So we'll talk about that as well. Let me post the link here for the online course. As soon as you register, you can start watching the archive content. So we do the classes live. All the sessions are recorded. So you can go back and watch it over and over again. As soon as you register, you can watch the class from this past Sunday. And then also you'll get the course content from the Saturday class that I'm teaching that's wrapping up. We have classes 1 through 10 of the Saturday class archived as well. Okay, so you can watch from around the world. You can join us live in class on Sundays, 2 p.m. to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But if you can't make it during that period of time, that's fine. All the sessions are recorded. You can go back and watch them over and over again. All right, we have to get out of here. Remember, right knowledge corrects wrong behavior. It's not over till we win. Wakanda forever. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Peace.